Yeah, good evening, everyone. You're welcome to Donwell Data School. Quickly before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Ojo Dayo Emmanuel. I'm a biostatistician and then the team lead of Donwell Data School. So you are welcome. So we're going to be having four facilitators that's going to be in us through this training. So including me. So I'm also part of it. So with other three facilitators, so they're going to be taking us through this. So today we are going to start with the variable classification and questionnaire design. But before that, let me quickly chip in some things before we start. Number one is that please, all questions should be written down. Then you are going to wait till we finish the class before you ask the question, or you can type it in a chat box. That's number one, so that we can have a smooth class without any interference. So if you find it difficult to join, you are finding it difficult to join, or you cannot hear anything again, so just log out and log in. Just log out and log in. Please note that all the lectures will be recorded. So we are recording this lecture so that if you miss out any part of it, you can easily what? You can easily go through the recorded video, then you will catch up with us. So we're going to be using Google Meet and also be using our Facebook Live. So if you are the type that, sorry, we're going to be using our YouTube Live. So if you are the type that you're familiar with the YouTube, you are free to check YouTube. Then if you are the type that you are familiar with the Google Meet, you are also permitted to use Google Meet. So we're going to be using the two platforms. And also, your participation in this training is very, very important. Your participation in this training is very, very important because the 80%, let me say 90% of this training is going to be practical. So 90% of this training is going to be practical. So please and please don't think that we are going to be writing formulas and the likes here. No, we just give you a tips, a little slide to guide you, then we go into the practical part of it. Remember that the essence of you subscribing to this school is to be equipped with the knowledge of data analysis. So tonight I'm going to start tonight with the variable classification and the questionnaire design. So let me start the record. Okay, once again, good evening, and we are starting with the variable classification and the questionnaire design. Variable classification and questionnaire design. So, why do we need a variable classification? So, why do we need a variable classification? The objective of this course, we want to learn how to identify the different classification of variable. Now, the variable classification is very, very important in data analysis. Variable classification is very, very important in data analysis because if you did not classify your variable correctly, you may choose a wrong analysis. You may choose a wrong analysis. In analyzing a data, you must know the type of variable that you want to analyze because different variable goes with different analysis. So in this lecture, the number one objective is to learn to identify the different classification. You have to learn how to classify different variable. That is the number one objective. So if you see a particular variable, you should be able to categorize it. Oh, this variable belongs to a qualitative variable, or this variable belongs to a quantitative variable, which is the first thing that you must learn as a researcher or as a teacher or as a data user. You must know how to classify your variable. So after classifying your variable, what's next? After you've classified your variable, then you can now go ahead and design a well-structured questionnaire. A well-structured questionnaire. Questionnaire is a good tools. Is one of the strongest tools that we use in getting our data, in collecting data. So the questionnaire is a very, very strong tool. So which we must understand the techniques and everything that can help us in designing a good questionnaire. So those are the two objectives that we are going to be checking tonight, learning how to identify the different classification and also learn how to design a good questionnaire. So we're going to be checking that tonight. So now, let's move further. Why you need this? You may ask yourself, why did I even need this? Why did I need this? Why did I have to do variable classification? Why did I have to do this, the questionnaire design? The number one thing, the reason why you need this is to improve data analysis and enhance research accuracy. It means that the proper you can define your variable classification, it will give you a robust analysis. It will give you the analysis that is better. It will give you the analysis, it will give you a better research. It will make you, it will give you an headway in your what? In your research. So to get a good research, it means that you must be able to classify your variable very well. So when you classify your variable, you will know the type of data that you need for a particular research. You will know the type of data that you are going out to collect for a particular research work. So variable classification is very, very important. The number two thing why you need this is ensure high quality of data collection. In this one is talking about the questionnaire. So if you have a good questionnaire, you don't need to go back to field again to go and be collecting it. Once you have a good questionnaire, you have your data collected once. So that means that you have a good and quality data. And then a good and quality data give higher precision. When you analyze your data, then you have information from that data, provided that you've collected a good and quality data. So getting a quality data is through the questionnaire. It will ensure high quality of data collection. The number three thing that why you need to participate in this program, in the classification of variable and result and the questionnaire design, it to improve participant engagement. So all the participants that you want to use in your research, that you want to collect data from, whether it is online based data or the physical one, whether it is paper one or the one that is administered or self-administered questionnaire. So it will improve the participant engagement. So you will engage with your participant that you want to collect data from. You will let them see the beauty of them giving you the data. You will let them see the benefit of them giving you a particular data. So if you have a good structured questionnaire, it's going to carry out this. Then the last part why you need this is a foundation for decision making. It means that when you have a good data, you have a good you can classify your variable very well. So in the process, then you have a good structure questionnaire, then followed by you collecting a quality data. So having your quality data, now you can perform your analysis on your data and bring out the useful information in which we can use for decision making. So those are the why you need this particular class. So let's move on. What you must be able to at the end of this class. So at the end of this class, you must be able to identify and classify correctly your variable. At the end of this class, if you are engaging in any research, you should be able to know this particular variable I'm talking about here. This particular variable I'm looking about here is a categorical variable. This variable that I'm looking here is independent variable. This variable I'm looking here is dependent variable. Which this variable that I'm looking here is a static or dynamic variable. So at the end of this class, you should be able to classify correctly, accurately the variable, and you should be able to identify correctly variables. Now, the next one is design a good questionnaire. Design a good questionnaire. So at the end of this class, you should be able to design a well-structured and good questionnaire. With the knowledge that you are going to acquire tonight, you should be able to design a good and structured questionnaire. And then the last one is identify how good a questionnaire is. So let's say, for instance, you in your organization or in your school or in your research, let's say you come across someone that is sharing a questionnaire. Immediately you are given that questionnaire or online-based questionnaire. Immediately you have those questionnaire. You should be able to know that this questionnaire is good by checking some characteristics in which we are going to be checking tonight. You should be able to know that this particular questionnaire is well structured. This particular questionnaire follow a logical order. This particular questionnaire is clear enough to collect the data that the owner or you particularly you need for your analysis. So those are the things that you must know at the end of this class. So let's move on. Now we're going to start with this definition of variable and variable classification. Now we have been talking about the variable, we have been talking about the variable classification. What is variable? Generally, a variable is any characteristics. It may be number, it may be quality that can be measured. Anything that you can measure or a characteristics of number, we categorize them as as variable. Generally, a variable is any characteristics, number, or quantity that can be measured or observed, which can change or varies. That means that your variable you can have a variable that change over time. A variable that change over time, we can have it. That is what we call the dynamic variable. We're going to be saying that very soon. And then the variable that is static, that is unchanged over the time, we also have a static variable. Then we have some other variables that are dependent variable. They depend. They cannot stand on their own. We call them dependent variable. And then we have other variables that they can stand on their own. The variable that you can manipulate, the variable that you can adjust to suit you. We call it that independent variable. And I want to state this clearly now that your data may not come the way you want it. Your data may not come the way you want it. So it is now your duty as a researcher, as a data analyst, to manipulate your data to suit your analysis. So in this process, it is what we call a data management. So a data management is part of what you are going to learn in this course. So ability to manage your data, ability to tailor your data to your research, ability to manage data very well in getting your accuracy, in getting what you need from the data. So now variables are fundamental to data collection. So that is the basis. Before you can collect any data, you must have a variable. Before you can collect any data, you must have a variable, because it is that variable that you are going to administer to people. It is that variable that people will start feeling. It is through that variable that you will get your data. So the variable is the fundamental, is the bedrock, is the starting point of data collection. Variable is the what? Is the starting point of data collection. Data collection, then followed by the analysis. So after you have a good variables that you've checked very well, then you can now what? You can now structure that variable in order for you to get your what? To get your data. So after getting that data, then we move to another process called what? Called the analysis. Remember that everything is still what? Is still go down to what? To a good variable classification. Then after the analysis, then the result, then you can, after the analysis, then you can now bring out the information from your analysis and then the result as they represent the attributes or property you are studying. So now, for instance, now if I want to, let's say for instance, I want to know the age of the participant that I have in this class. So the age is a variable. The age is a variable. So now, if I collect the age of the participant that I have for this class now, so that means that I have a variable age. Then I have a what? A data listed under the variable age. So that means that I have a variable age, then I have a data listed under the what? Under the variable age. So now, for example, now we have the height. Height is a variable. It can be weight. Weight is a variable. Then the income. Then the income is also a variable. So the income is also a, a variable. Then also we have the number, let's say for instance, now the number of staff working in a particular organization. Let's say in your own organization or in your own research, you have the staff that is working for you. So the number of those staff that are working that is working for you is a variable. So also we have what we call a variable classification. What is a variable classification? A variable classification refers to the process of categorizing variables based on their characteristics, nature, roles in data analysis. Now, at the end of this class, please note this, at the end of this class, if you are seeing any variable, you should be able to classify it. You should be able to classify that variable based on the characteristics that we are going to be checking tonight. So based on the characteristics, whether a particular variable is a nominal variable, you are going to know tonight. Whether a particular variable is a ordinal variable, you are going to know tonight. Whether a particular variable is a dependent variable, or a particular variable is a numeric or a qualitative variable. So we are going to know tonight. So if you are seeing any variable or you are working with any variable, by checking the characteristics and the nature or the role in which that variable is playing in your data analysis, you should be able to classify it correctly. So please note this. Proper classification, proper classification of variable will help you to select appropriate statistical analysis. Or you can also select what we call the machine learning method for data analysis. Now, if you classify your variable correctly, because in statistics we have different type of analysis, we have numerous of analysis that we normally use in what? In analyzing the data. It depends on the behavior of the data, it depends on the nature of the data, and then it depends on the objective of your research. So proper classification of variable, if you can classify your variable very well, you will be able to use a correct a correct statistical analysis. Because if you don't classify your variable correctly, that means that you are going to be using wrong analysis. And then when you are using a wrong analysis, that means that you can't get a good result. So that means that your precision or your accuracy level is not going to be what is not going to be accurate. Let me just put it like that. So that means that if they are placing your precision level in the on the scale of 1 to 100%, that means that if you are using the wrong statistics tools, that means that you cannot even reach the 50%. So, and then using a wrong statistic tool is still what is still narrowed down to you not properly classify your variable. So in data analysis, variable classification is very, very important and very, very essential in data analysis. So now let's start. Now we have different categories that we're going to be checking tonight. And I want you to pay more attention and then keep all the questions till the end of the class. Now, the first one is we classify variable based on the data type. It depends on the
Sorry,
data
sir,
that
we
you want
can't
to
see your we can't see, we are not seeing your slides, sir. We are not seeing your slides.
Is your network? Is your network?
Please log in and log out again. We've said that before, so that we will not be going back over and over again. Log in and log out. Everything is set. We are monitoring this with 3 different systems, so everything is set. Please, if you can't see my screen, log out and log in back. Thank you so much. So now let's continue. Based on the data type, so we classify variable based on the data type. Now, under the statistical analysis, or generally under statistics, is that we have a quantitative variable or you have a qualitative, sorry, is that you have a quantitative data or you have a qualitative data. Please get this right. It's either you have a quantitative data or you have a qualitative data. So now we are starting with what we call quantitative data. A quantitative data is also called a numerical or a numeric data. Some author may put it as numeric, but it is still what a quantitative data. So under the quantitative data, we have 2 types. This is very, very important. I want you to pay more attention to this because you are going to be using this in your research, in your place of work, or in anywhere you find yourself that you are dealing with data. Now, the first one is called a quantitative data, which is another name called a numeric data. So under this, we have discrete and then we have continuous. We have a discrete quantitative data and then we have a continuous quantitative data. So under the discrete quantitative data, discrete are the count data. So the data that you can count. Let's say, for instance, now your age. We cannot have age that is, let's say, for instance, 12 point something years. Is a random number like your age, 12 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old. So they are count data. So any data that you can count, it is called a discrete quantitative data. Any count data, it is called a what? Discrete quantitative data. Let's say, for instance, that the number of children that you give birth to is a what? Is a discrete quantitative data, because a quantitative data deals with numbers. A quantitative data deals with numbers. So now, based on the data type, we can classify our variable to be a discrete variable or a continuous variable, which is what? Which is under a numeric or a quantitative data. So now, let's say, for instance, now, in the example that we have here, we have the number of children is a what? Is a discrete. We have the age at last birthday. Your age at last birthday is what? Is also a discrete. So when we get to a questionnaire, you will see the way we are going to be structuring using this, the knowledge of variable classification in what? In structuring a good questionnaire. So now the next one is what we call the continuous data. It is still under a quantitative data. So the continuous data can take any value within a range. Let's say I have from 0 to 10. A continuous data can take 0.5, while the discrete cannot take 0.5. A continuous data can take 1.7, while the discrete cannot take 1.7. Let's say, for instance, now your height. If you measure your height, sometimes we may have 1.6 meter, we may have 1.4 meter. So your height is a what? Is a quantitative data which is continuous. Your height is a what? Is a quantitative data which is continuous. Then the other one is what we have the weight. If we check your weight now, you may have, oh, I have 60.8, I have 70.1. So they are continuous. So any data that you are having that is on the range, it is called a quantitative data. Then your blood pressure. If you check your blood pressure, is also a what? A quantitative. We have a range. For instance, now for those people in health, they may tell you that from 80 to 120 is your blood pressure must be there. So that means we have 80 to 120, maybe it's normal. I don't know, the physician in the house, please pardon me. So if we have 30 to, let's say, for instance, we have 80 to 120 now. So we may say your blood pressure is normal. Let's say if they have 130 and above, they may say it is not normal. So it is a continuous data. So now the other type of data that we have is what we call a qualitative data. Another name for a qualitative data is what we call a categorical data. So another name for qualitative data is what we call the categorical data. So under this, we also have two types. Remember that under the numeric, we have two types. Then under the categorical too, we have two types. So the number one is what we call the nominal. We call it a nominal data. So what is a nominal data? Categories are without a natural order. So let's say, for instance, now we have a gender. A gender is either you are a male or female. It is not number. Please take note of that. It is not what? It is not number. So anytime you are picking a particular variable or you are seeing a variable that is without number, you will know that this particular variable is under a categorical variable. They don't deal with numbers. So now we now have the two types. The first one is without order. That is what did they mean by without order? Let's say, for instance, we have male and female. Male can come first, female can come first. So you being a female, that does not mean that you are superior to male. And then you being a male, that means that does not mean that you are superior to male. So there is no order. Anyone can come first. So if you are designing your questionnaire now, it's either you put male first or female first. Anyone. There is no order in that. So not that, oh, male have to come first before female, or female have to come first before male. So there is no what? There is no order. So the nominal data, they don't follow a natural order. Now, another example is the blood group. Let's say, for instance, you have a blood group O, we have the O plus, we have B resource B resource D positive, then we have the B minus. So all those blood groups, they don't follow order. So that means that if you are a blood group O, that does not mean that you are more superior to those that are what the B minus or the B plus. So those one are what are nominal. Nominals don't follow order. So anyone can come from. And please note that when you're talking about nominal, you don't deal with numbers. Nominals don't deal with numbers. It is very, very important. Please note this. Binary is a specific case of categorical variable with only two categories. Now, anytime you now have a nominal data or you have a variable that is nominal and then the outcome is true, another word that we can use here is what we call a dichotomous variable. A dichotomous, di means two. Anytime you are hearing the word di means two. So when we are talking about the dichotomous variable, it means that the outcome of that variable is just two responses. Is either yes or no. If I ask you now, are you going to attend this class tomorrow now? Is either you say yes or you say no. So the outcome is true. Is either yes or no. If you are writing a particular exam or you are writing a particular test, it's either pass or fail. So if you are carrying out an experiment, is that positive or negative? So any variable that you have that you can categorize into two, that the outcome is binary, it is called a what? A binary. What is it called? It is called a what? A binary. It's called a nominal category, the nominal variable with two outcomes. That is called a what? A binary variable. Please get that. It is very, very important to understand this because there are a lot of research. Sorry, let me put it like this. There are a lot of analysis in statistics that the outcome is binary. So, and then when you have your outcome to be binary, there is an analysis or a logistic regression. So we're going to be taking that in this camp because a logistic regression is one of the statistical analysis that they mostly use in education. They use it in medicine. They use it even in account firm. So they use the logistic regression. So it is very, very important. So now we check the other one, which is called an ordinal. What is ordinal variable or the ordinal data? Now, the ordinal data is the other way around for the nominal data. Remember that in the nominal data, we mentioned that the order is without order, so it does not follow any order. But in the ordinal, we follow order. Order has to be followed. Let's say, for instance, now you have a variable called the level of education. By now, if you are picking any questionnaire or you are seeing any variable asking you for the education, based on the education, you will know that that particular variable is the ordinal variable. The reason why the level of education is follow ordinal is because if you look at the level of education, we can start from primary. You cannot start the level of education from let's say, for instance, let's say from secondary. So primary have to come first. So if you are designing your questionnaire, your variable of education, that means that your primary have to come first, then followed by what? The secondary, then followed by the post secondary. So anybody with the diploma is not a graduate, is a post secondary. So post secondary, they are the one with the diploma, then followed by the what? The graduate, then followed by the postgraduate. So the order has to be followed when you are dealing with ordinal what? Ordinal variable or ordinal data. So ordinal data follow orders, while the nominal data does not follow order. So you have to get this right. It is very, very important. So example that we have here is the level of educational level, then the customer satisfaction rate. Let's say, for instance, now you want to rate, or you want to check whether the particular services that you are rendering to your customer is okay by them. You can have a scale. Oh, is this particular product that you have, is it okay by you? Strongly disagree, neutral or undecided, then agree, then strongly agree. So those are the ordinal variable, because they follow what? They follow pattern, they follow order. Unlike the nominal that you just ask your gender, they can put tick email, they can also tick, is either male or they can tick female. So in the manner of which you arrange the male and the female does not matter, because it's a nominal variable. Let's continue. Now, the second one is based on the measurement level. Based on the measurement level. Now, in statistics, we have 4 types of measurement, which is very, very important in your analysis. We have 4 measurements. We have nominal, we have ordinal, we have interval, and then we have ratio. Irrespective of your field, any data that you are getting from your field will fall in between these 4 categories. So after today's class, you may check your field and pick any data from your field. You should be able to categorize it. So this 4 is generally used in measuring data: the nominal, the ordinal, the interval, and the ratio. Now, we've talked about the nominal. The nominal are what are the categorical data that, so any nominal that is of 2, the outcome is 2. That is what we call the binary or a dichotomous variable. So then the ordinal are those that follow orders, in order in which you arrange your answer, or the order in which those data is being arranged, they must follow order. Maybe whether it is ascending order or descending order. So they must follow order. Now, it's because if you check our previous slide, we've talked about the nominal and ordinal, so we don't need to repeat that again here. So we move straight to the interval. But before we move down to the interval, if you note this, in most statistical software like SPSS that we are going to be checking in this data camp, the SPSS, they have both interval and ratio together. Both interval and ratio, they have them together. It is called scale. So that means that if you are picking a scale, ratio is inside the scale. If you are picking a scale, interval is inside the scale. So that is why in SPSS, you will see nominal under the measurement. You will see nominal there, you will see ordinal there, but you will see scale. You will not see the interval and ratio. But the interval and ratio are subsets of scale. What did I mean by subset? You can find them inside the scale. So they belong to what? To the scale. So the family of scale contains interval and the ratio. That is why if you are checking the SPSS, you will see scale. You will not see the interval, neither will you see the ratio. Now let's check the interval. What is the interval variable? Interval variable are numerical variable that have equal interval between value, but lack through 0 point. Lack through 0 point. Now, The interval is a language that we are familiar with, we are popular with it. So it's not something that is new. Now, if you are taking your interval variable, there must be what we call a uniformity. Uniformity is very, very important in interval variable. What did I mean by uniformity? Let's say, for instance, I'm taking a value, I'm starting from 0 to 5. So the interval from 0 to 5 must be the same thing if I'm taking the second one from 6. Let's say I'm taking the second one from 6 to 11. 6 to 11. So they must follow the same interval. Not that the first one that you have is follow the interval. Let's say it's following interval 4, and then the next thing that you have is follow the interval 5. No, that is no longer an interval variable. So it must follow the same order, the same distance must be in between the two data points that you are checking, or the two number. So what did they mean by they lack true 0 points? Now, for instance, now, if I say age is 0, that means that that age does not exist. We can't have age 0. Even if you give birth now, immediately you give birth to that child now, the age is no longer 0. So when we're talking about it does not have a true 0, that means that in the interval, the 0 that you are having there, it does not mean nothing. So it means that it represents something. So that's why they say it does not have a true, but it's like a true 0 point. So if you have true 0 point, that means it is nothing. So anytime you are saying 0, you are saying this particular variable lack true 0 point. That means that the 0 in that variable does not mean that it is nothing. Let's say, for instance, that we have temperature. If you have 0 temperature, that does not mean that there's no temperature. So that means that a temperature, a variable of temperature is called an interval variable. So that means that the 0 in that temperature does not mean that it does not what? It does not exist. It does not mean that it is nothing. So that means that if you are talking about the interval variable what lack true 0 point. Now, another example is what we call the intelligent quotient score. Intelligent quotient score, if someone with 0 intelligent quotient score, that does not mean that that person does not even have intelligence at all. So that means 0 that you are seeing there is not really mean the true 0 that we have. So now let's check the ratio. The ratio variable and numeric variable that have equal interval and a meaningful, then true 0 points. That is, if you are dealing with ratio, the 0 in the ratio means 0, nothing. Unlike the interval, that is, your 0 in the interval does not mean nothing, but your 0 in the ratio means what? Nothing. For instance, now 0 indicates complete absent. So when you have 0 candidate, that means that we don't have any candidate at all. So we must be able to differentiate between the interval and then the ratio when you are what? When you are classifying your variable. Now we move to another one. Based on the role in analysis. Based on the role in analysis, we can also classify our variable based on the role that they perform in the analysis. So the first one that we're going to be checking here is what we call the independent variable. Independent variable. Now, as a researcher, you must be able to know different names in which your variable bears as a good researcher or as a data analyst or a good management of data, that you manage data very well. You should be able to know the different name that a particular variable bears. Because another person, a person can come to you now and be telling you that, oh, I have this particular variable, and the person will just tell you the another name that is different from the one that you know. So that means that you must know the different name that the variable, a particular variable bears. Now, let's say, for instance, now we are starting with what we call the independent variable. Another name for independent variable is called a predictor variable, the variable that predicts the outcome. Another name for independent variable is what we call the explanatory variable. It will explain the outcome that you have. Let's say, for instance, now, the level of teaching. I want to give this lecture for the next 2 hours, and I will give you a test to carry out. The result of that your test is depending on the lecture that I'm giving you, whether you understand this lecture or not. So now the lecture that I'm giving you will explain the outcome of your score. That is why the independent variable is also called an explanatory variable. Another name for the independent variable is what we call a treatment. For those people in medical line, it is called a treatment. Let me give you a particular drug. Let's say I'm giving you a paracetamol. So if you are taking a paracetamol as a treatment, then the outcome is that your headache must reduce, or the headache will vanish, or a particular pain will vanish. So the treatment that you are taking is called what? Independent variable. So if you are classifying a treatment now, for those people in the medical line, if you are classifying a treatment that you are giving to your patient, the variable for that treatment is called the independent variable. Now, another name for independent variable is what we call the input variable. The input variable. That is another name for what? For independent variable. So now let's quickly check the definition that we have here. Independent variable are variables that we can manipulate. That is one of the characteristics of what? Of your independent variable. You can manipulate it. Let's say, for instance, now, after giving a 2 hours lecture, I discovered that the performance of the students are still poor. I can increase the number of hours, or I can change the method that I'm using, or I can change the method in which I use to assess them. So all those ones are what are independent variables that I'm manipulating in order for me to for the student, the outcome result of the student to be better. So one of the characteristics that identify independent variable that is that you can manipulate it. You can manipulate it to suit your result. Because I made mention this when we started, that data may not come the way that you have, that you want it. For instance, let me put it like that. Your data may not come the way you want it. So it is now your duty by using a data management. So part of the data management is when you are manipulating data. So now, if you are doing the manipulation of the data, what variable can you manipulate? You can manipulate independent variable. It is very, very important. You can also control independent variable. That's another characteristic. You can control it. Let's say, for instance, now I want to control the level of my teaching. I can reduce the class to 2 hours. I can increase the class to 3 hours. So it's still within my control. So I can decide, oh, I want to finish this class in 2 hours because of the performance of the student. Oh, I want to reduce the intake of the drug. That is why if you go and buy a particular drug, they will put a prescription on it. Use this once per day. Use this 2 per day. Some drug can start with 2. At the end of the day, they will say, oh, start using 1 because of the outcome that they are seeing. So it is what you can control or categorize to observe the effect on another variable. So it is the independent variable that we normally use to test the outcome of what on another variable. So those are the attributes that you are going to see when you see a particular variable, that you are going to know, oh, this particular variable is a independent variable. So those are the attributes as a researcher, as a data management using, as a data analyst. Anybody can come to you and bring you a data, they will just tell you their objective. So it is your duty as a good data analyst to bring out the dependent variable, your independent variable, based on the characteristics that we have mentioned. So let's say, for instance, now let's say we have a research question. How does teaching style affect student performance? That is the research question. Now, how do you identify your independent variable from this research question? The independent variable here is the teaching style. Now, let's say, for instance, the lecture base, we have group discussion, then we have hand-on activities. So those are the teaching styles that we have. Then if you look at all these teaching style, you can apply any of the characteristics that we mentioned above to it. Whether you can manipulate it, you can control it, you can categorize it. So those are the attributes that identify independent variable. Now, how to identify the independent variable? I've mentioned this. So let's, number one is you will ask yourself, what is being changed? Which variable out of all these variables that I have is being changed, can be manipulated, can be controlled, or can be categorized? I've explained this. The second one is check the study design. The independent variable, often what we research manipulate, I've mentioned it. So in your study design, your independent variable is what you can what you can manipulate, or naturally it changes. So independent variable, it changes. So those are the attributes that we check for independent variable. Now we move to the dependent variable. Another name for dependent variable is what we call the outcome variable. Please note this is very, very important. Another name for dependent variable is what we call the outcome variable. Then another name for dependent variable is what we call the effect variable. Effect variable. Then another name for response, another name for dependent variable is what we call the what? The response variable. Let's say, for instance, now those people that is in technology, let's say mechanical engineering, for instance, now let's say you are trying to craft out a particular rod. Now, after you've input the materials that you want to use to bring out the rod, now the after you've put in all the material, all the materials are the what are the independent variable. Let's say, for instance, the level of silicon, the level of clay, and all those material that you bring together to form a good iron rod. So now, after bringing all those instruments together, that is what we call the dependent variable. So the iron rod that you now have at the end of the day is what we call your outcome variable. So that means that that iron rod depends on all those material that you've put in. Let's say, for instance, that you now discover that the dimension of that iron rod is very, very small, and you want to increase the dimension, let's say 10 mm, for instance. Now, then that means that you are going to go back to your independent variable and adjust. Maybe you are going to increase the level of silicon that you have, or you are going to increase the level of clay that you have, or you are going to reduce, you are going to increase or reduce the level of calcium or the level of the potassium that you have. So those are the things that you are going to be adjusting. So at the end of the day, you have your outcome. Your outcome is your dependent variable, which is the iron rod. So let's check. A dependent variable is the variable being tested, measured, or observed in a study. So if you are measuring a particular variable in your study, or you are observing it, let me observe this particular variable. Let's say, for instance, now you are observing the growth of a plant. I want to observe the growth of this plant. Okay, the growth of the plant is the dependent variable. So that means the growth of that plant is depending on the soil that you are planting it on, is depending on the sunlight that you are the sunlight that that particular plant is receiving. So that means that if you are checking the growth of a particular plant, you are, the outcome is the growth, where the independent variable are the factors that contribute to that growth. So it is represent the outcome or reflect the influence by changing the independent variable. So by what? By changing the independent variable. Let us look at, okay, let us also look at another research question. Does the exercise reduce blood pressure? That is the research question that we want to carry out. Here, our dependent variable is the blood pressure. Now, the exercise is our independent variable because you can control it. Let's say, for instance, now, you started with, let's say you started with 30-minute exercise. Then after you measure your blood pressure, you discover that the thing has not really have effect. You can increase it by increasing the level of your exercise or the time that you spend in carrying out your exercise. That means that you've manipulated the variable called exercise. So the variable here that we have is called exercise, so which is also under the independent variable. So that particular variable is what is independent variable. Then the blood pressure, which is the outcome of that of you performing that exercise, is what we call the dependent variable. Now, there is another one called a control variable. A control variable is a variable that is kept constant or controlled throughout a study. That means that that particular variable does not change at all. It does not change throughout your study. It was what? It was constant. So anytime you have a variable that it does not change in your research, that variable is what we call a control variable. So control throughout the study to ensure it does not influence the dependent variable. That means that if you control it, you will discover that the outcome, you get a good outcome variable without being manipulated, without the influence of that particular variable. By controlling this variable, researcher can isolate the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. So you easily know that this outcome that I'm getting, it's purely on the independent, based on the independent variable, but not those variables that are influence your decision or that has influenced your outcome. So we normally control for that variable. Let's quickly check example under this. Let us check another research question. Does the amount of sunlight affect plant germination or growth? That is the research question. Now, the independent variable here is the amount of sunlight. You can control the amount of sunlight that a particular plant is receiving. Now, the dependent variable here is the plant growth, which is the height. Now, the control variable here that we can have is the type of soil. You can control the type of soil because type of soil sometimes determines the growth of a particular plant. So if you are carrying out an experiment, that means that you must plant all the plants on the same soil. If you are using a loamy soil, that means that you must use a loamy soil throughout. Your loamy soil must be constant. If you are using a clay soil, that means that the clay soil must be constant. Not that you are going to plant one on a clay soil and you plant another one in loamy soil. So that means that the control here that we have is the type of soil, the amount of water that you are given to that plant is very, very important. You can control it. I can decide that I'm giving this plant 10 liters of water every day. So that means that you keep to that so that you can know the actual, so that you can know the influence of the sunlight, whether the sunlight also really, whether the growth of that plant depends solely on the sunlight, provided that the water that you are given is constant, and then the type of plant. If you are planting a local, let's say those people that are invested in cocoa plants, or they are invested in palm oil plants. So whether it is local palm oil that you want to, local palm that you want to plant, or you want to plant the hybrid one. So if you are planting the hybrid one, that means that it must be constant. True. Then when you are planting the local one, that means that it must also be constant. There is another variable called a confounding variable. A confounding variable. A confounding variable is an external variable that influences both the independent and dependent variables. So you must be able to control you must be able to know your confounding variable because it really affects the result or the outcome of your research. So you must be able to identify it. Potential disordering the result of the study. It creates a false or mislead relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. So if you are unable to identify your confounding variable in your research, it may lead to the precision that is not real because they have influence in the research. So let us look at another research question. Does the higher education lead to higher income? That's the question. Now in here, the independent variable is the level of education that you have. Primary, secondary, post-secondary, or graduate. So you can control this. Someone can decide after the post-secondary school, someone may decide that I don't want to study again. I want to venture into the business. So you can control that. And another person can decide that I want to further my education to the PhD level or to the cadre of professor. That's another option. And these are what are independent variable that we can manipulate. Then the dependent variable here is the annual salary or the profit from the business. So that means that you want to check if your level of education determines your annual salary. Let's say, for instance, someone that they employ with the post-secondary, and then someone that they employ with a graduate, a bachelor of degree certificate. So the annual salary depends on the independent variable, which is your educational level. Now, the confounder variable here is the family wealth. So someone may be the income of a particular, let's say of a particular person can also be influenced by the family wealth. Let's say, for instance, daddy is giving me this. I'm getting this from from the share of my daddy's company. Let's say, for instance, my daddy, maybe they have a lot of properties. So, and there is a particular return that I normally get every month, aside from me getting my normal salary or my profit from the business. So, if we cannot control for the family wealth, the family wealth may influence the outcome or the profits or the income that you are earning at the end of the month if we don't control for it. So the family weight here is what we call a confounding variable. So it will influence the outcome. It will also influence the independent variable. So now another one is based on the relationship with time. Time is very, very important. Based on the relationship with time. So number one here is what we call a static variable. A static variable. So if you are seeing a particular variable that does not change over time, they observe it for 10 years, they observe it for 20 years, those variable does not change. They call them a static variable. They did not change at all. Let's say, for instance, now, your blood group. Your blood group, let's say, for instance, your blood group is O plus. Throughout your life, your blood group will be O plus. So your blood group is another variable that you can also categorize as a static under the what when you're dealing with time. You can categorize it as as a static variable. Or let's say, for instance, you fix a particular amount of money in your bank account with a fixed rate. Let's say, for instance, now before you sign the MOU, the MOU that you sign is, oh, I'm fixing this particular money for 10 years at the rate of 10%. So now that rate does not change over the year. So that means that throughout the 10 years that you are observing your money, that means that it is what? It is a static variable. So it does not change over time. Another one is the price of product during promo period. Now, thank God we're in December now. You will start seeing people bringing in their promo. Oh, if you buy this from so time to so time, there is a discount of 10%. So during the promo, that means that the price has reduced. So and that price is going to run for that particular period of time. So that variable that you observe for a particular period of time, and you discover that that variable does not change over that period of time, is what we call a static variable. This is very, very important. So another one that we're going to check tonight under the variable classification is what we call a dynamic variable. A dynamic variable. Dynamic variable change over time. Dynamic variable change over time is the opposite of the static variable. Dynamic variables are variables that change over time or across conditions within the study or analysis. So if you have a particular variable that you are measuring over time, please remember that anytime you are having a data, you want to collect data over time, you must consider these two variables. Very, very important. Is it a static variable that I'm having, or I'm having a dynamic variable? The static variable does not change over the time, while the dynamic variable changes over time. Let's say, for instance, now the attendance rate. Let's say attendance rate of the participants in our data school now. Let's say tonight now, let's say I have the attendance of 100. That does not mean that tomorrow now I'm still going to have the attendance of 100. It may change, it may increase, and it may reduce. So that's another example. Then your blood pressure. Your blood pressure is also another variable. If you are observing your blood pressure over time, let's say I have a group of people that I'm studying their blood pressure. Let's say I want to study their blood pressure for 10 years. So whether I want to bring out some analysis, I want to check some genetics, some gene, or some diseases. Maybe I want to check maybe based on observe for over 10 years now. Is now what the blood pressure variable that I want to observe for over 10 years now is now what we call a dynamic variable, because it changes. Another one is the currency exchange rate. Let's say dollar. dollar exchange rate now does not static. It's not a static variable. Is a dynamic variable. It changes. So any variable that you observe over time and that variable can change over time is what we call a dynamic variable. And any variable that you observe over time and that variable does not change over time is what we call a static variable. So on this note, we've come to the end of the variable classification. So we're going to move down now to questionnaire design. Questionnaire design. A questionnaire generally is one of the strongest tools that we use in data collection. It's one of the strongest tools that we normally use to collect our data. And then the ability of our ability for you to have a good and well-structured questionnaire will generate a good data for you. And once you have a good data, your level of precision will be increased, or the level of accuracy will be increased. So that from the result of your analysis, you'll be able to make a good decision, the decision that you are going to that is going to be effective, provided that you have you are able to classify your variable very well. You are able to design a good structure questionnaire, and then you are able to when you have a good structure questionnaire, you will get your good data, then you will perform your analysis. A questionnaire is a structured tool to collect data for research, evaluation, or decision making. So a questionnaire is a structured tool to collect data for research, evaluation, or decision making. Now, what is the importance of questionnaire? Why do you need to design a questionnaire for your research? Why do you need a good questionnaire for your research? Number one is it ensures data quality. It ensures what? Data quality. Because in statistics, it's either you have a primary data or you have a secondary data. So a questionnaire design falls under the primary data because you are the one collecting it yourself. Unlike the secondary data, let's say, for instance, now a record in hospital, maybe you go there to get some data from them. A record in hospital is a secondary data because you are not the one that collected it straight from the source. So, but the questionnaire design, you are getting a primary source of data, and then it is very advisable and it is very good to get a primary sources of data. The reason being that you'll be able to ask different questions. You'll be able to structure your questionnaire, putting different variable of your interest to get, and then you are going to get it. Unlike the secondary data, maybe for instance now, for the secondary data, after they've collected all the primary data, in the process of inputting it, they may have a typographical error. Sorry, they may have a text error. They may have the input error. So maybe in the course of typing it, they may want to type 2, they went to go and type 1. Or they may want to type 12 and they want to go and type 21. So you are using that data, you may not know because you don't know the primary. You are not the owner of that data. So you may not know whether there is an error. So which can also affect your result. So designing a good questionnaire to get a data, it will provide you a good and a quality data. And the questionnaire also increase the response rate. Let's say, for instance, you've designed a questionnaire that your target population is 400. You can monitor it yourself that, oh, I'm giving this questionnaire to 400 people. And you will see that you've gathered the data for the 400 sample that you need. So it also increases the response rate. It helps in answering research questions effectively. Before you go to the field at all, you will have stated your research question. This is what I want to do. You will have stated your objective. The objective of me carrying out this research is this and this. So in structuring your questionnaire, you will have inputs or put those questions, put those variables that can capture your objective. This is very, very important. The first thing is you have to design a clear objective. What do you want to achieve? What did I want to do with this questionnaire? So after that one, then you will now structure your questionnaire in such a way that you will have those variables that will capture all your objective. Now, if you don't have a variable that capture all your objective, you have two ways. the two ways is that number one is that you go back to the field, because in the process of doing analysis, they will not be able to actualize that objective that you stated. So it's that you go back to the field and collect that data back, which is going to cost you the extra time, the extra cost. Or there's another part called simulation, which simulates data. So that one is those people in what's it called, in science. So they do simulation a lot. Those people in mathematics, those people in statistics, they do simulation a lot. But those people in health, or you are in education, or you are in tech and the likes, you have to get if you are dealing with the primary data, you have to get your a quality and a good data. So how will you get that is by structuring a good questionnaire. So the type of questionnaire that we have what we call a self-administered questionnaire. You are the one that design it yourself, and then you are administering it to respond it. Oh, I'm giving you this Google form to fill. Please help me fill this my research. So if you are doing that online, you are giving people to fill. That is what we call self-administered online. But if you are the type that you printed paper and then you take it to, maybe you take it to a center, or you take it to school, or you take it to where they are mining, or you take it to where you can get your data. So that is what we call, it's also a self-administered questionnaire, but it is a paper one. That one it will require you to go there physically. But the one that you perform online, I can design a particular questionnaire now and send it to someone in, let's say someone outside Nigeria, and they will fill it for me. It's still a self-administered questionnaire, but it is online based. Another one is what we call interviewer administered. That one is face to face. Oh, I want to see you face to face. Maybe let's say, for instance, now some of my target population, those people that I want to work with, they are unlearned, they cannot write. We normally use face to face questionnaire. I'll be asking them questions, they will be giving me the reply. I'll be asking them questions, they will be giving me the reply. So another one is the telephone. Let's say, for instance, now you receive a call from, let's say, from GoTV, or you receive a call from your network, and they are asking you some questions. How do you feel our network? What are the things that you think that we can use, that you can do to improve our network? How can we serve you better? Those ones too, they are questionnaire, but it is a telephone one. It is what interviewer administered questionnaire. So it is on a telephone. So another one that you can have the mix. They can give you form to fill online. They just say, oh, let's say just your 5 minutes that we want to take, can you fill this form for us? And at the end of the day, they still call you to ask, have you filled this form? Do you have any challenges? What are the things that you think that we can amend in this form and the like? So that one is what we call the mixed mode. And then the mixed mode is very, very good if you have the ability to carry out the mixed mode. The reason being that if you administer an online questionnaire and you've gotten a data, let's say, for instance, now you've gotten a data, and then most of your audience, they provide you with an email. Let's say, for instance, they provide you with an email or a phone number. You can reach out to them. Do they have any difficulty in filling those questionnaires? And then let me state this: people prefer this most, asking them questions, and they'll be asking you than writing or filling. Ordinary 5-minute questionnaire or 2-minute questionnaire of their time, they may not want to release it. You have to keep on begging them. But if you call them on phone, let's say you have a mutual relationship or you have a rapport, you've reached out to them before that this also time I'm going to be asking you some few questions. They'll be eager to answer, because by that time they are not stressing themselves to write anything. They are not stressing themselves to read anything. So most people that they have a robust result. A robust result means that they have a good result, the result that can be generally they can be generally acceptable. They normally use mixed model method. The mixed mode method is you are using the self-administered questionnaire, then you are also using the interviewer questionnaire. Now we have a step-by-step in designing a good questionnaire. If you want to design the questionnaire now, the first thing is you must define your objective. Your objective must be stated and clear before you even think of you want to design a questionnaire. What did I want to achieve? What is this research is all about? At the end of the day, what will be the outcome of this my result? So you have to define your objective. You're going to state it one by one. Objective 1, objective 2, objective 3. So after defining your objective, that means that or your objective will have captured your opinion, your aim of carrying out that particular research. So your objective must be, first of all, defined. So I put some objective question here. Now, let's say, for instance, in X, I want to assess patient satisfaction about a particular healthcare center. Let's say, for instance, I have an healthcare center that I'm running, and I want to check whether the services that I'm giving them there is okay by them. And it is very, very important. If you have a business, there is what we call a feedback. If you have a business that you are running or you are in an organization, you must be able to be designing a feedback form to get your what, to get your view, to get your customer view. Because by getting your customer view, it will increase what you have to put in place, and it will increase your income. It will increase the rate at which you are selling. Now, let's say, for instance, now you are the type that you have a particular complaint and you are supplying people. You can ask them, what difficulty did they find in getting their goods? What are the things you are doing online marketing and the like? You can ask your customer, what are the things that you think that you should put to what to serve them better. Now, another one is this one is under education. Evaluate student learning preference. After you teach them finish, you can give them a little paper. They should write what they feel about the question. Let them do it anonymously. Don't let them put their name or anything. So that by the time you read those things, you'll be able to analyze to know whether that teaching that you just give is effective or not. They will tell you, sir, ma, you need to increase in this, you need to check this area, you need to check this area. So that one will improve the next thing that you are teaching them. Now, in finance, understanding customer spending habits, I've mentioned that. Now, the step 2 is identify your target audience. Identify your target audience is very, very important. If your target audience are patients let's say they have diabetes, you can't be designing a question for those people that have blood pressure, or you can't be designing a question for those people that are in education. So you must know the target audience that you are dealing with. Now, after knowing your target audience, this is very, very important. Age and the gender is very, very important in your questionnaire design. Is very, very important. Your age and your gender. Then the profession. Which profession are you applying? Or sorry, which profession is your target? Is it health? Is it education? Is it finance? Is it technology? Is it science? So you must know the audience that you are dealing with. It is very, very important. Now, step 3, you draft questions. The question that you want to put in your questionnaire, you have to draft the question. Now, we have different types of questions. We're going to be checking them one by one. The first one is what we call the close-ended question. The close-ended question. The closed-ended question are questions like your gender, male or female. You've supplied them. They will just tick. They are close-ended question. The liker scale. The services that we are rendering here is good. Tick whether you are okay with it. We have strongly disagree. We have disagree. We have undecided. We have agreed. Then we have strongly agree. Those one are what we call a close-ended question. So that means that they don't need to write anything. They will just what? They will just tick. So any question that you are drafting and you have these categories, they are called a close-ended question. Now, another question is what we call the open-ended question. Open-ended question. Let's say, for instance, now, age at last birthday. You leave it open for them to fill. Now, please note this. They find it difficult nowadays to supply their age. And then it is advisable for a good researcher to get age in an open-ended. Don't close age. The reason being that the age that you have as an open-ended is a numeric value. You can go back and do what we call a variable transformation. We're going to be doing that in this data school. how you are going to do the variable transformation, that you can categorize your age. So that means that age can function as a numeric, and age can also function as a categorical. So you can use age for two things there. So now you may be doing analysis now. You may be doing analysis that you need age as a numeric. You may also be doing another analysis that you need age as a what? As an as a what? As a category. Now, let's say, for instance, that you've collected your age as a category. So now the analysis that you want to perform now, that you want to use age as numeric, it will be difficult because you cannot what, take you cannot take age from category to numeric. No, but you can take age from numeric to category. So the way we ask this question now is what? Your age at the last birthday. They will feel it now. They will feel it now because you are not really asking their present age. It's just at their last birthday. So because people feel like, if you know my age, what do you want to use my age for? So those questions sometimes look like an insult to them. What is your age? You don't ask the question like that again. Age at last birthday. They will supply it. So once you have the age as numeric, you are good to go. You can categorize it, and you can also use it as a numeric. Now, another one is the ranking and rating scale. The ranking and rating scale is another question. Rank the following teaching method. Order of effectiveness. So, like you can have that question. 1 is the most effective. Then 4 is it is less effective. So you give them to rank. So we're going to check. I have a particular questionnaire here that I'm going to use to demonstrate all what I've been saying so far. Then another one is, let's look at this rating now. The rating scale, we have the customer satisfaction. The customer was satisfaction. How satisfied are you with our services on a scale of 1 to 5? So you can also have a question that are relating to rating. Remember that we have a close-ended question, we have the open-ended question, we have the ranking question, then we have the rating question. So for the ranking and the rating question, I just put them together so that I can explain them together. So now, tip for writing questions. This is very, very important. Now, be concise and be clear. That is, go straight to what you want to ask them. Don't parabulate. Don't give them story. People don't want to read story. When it's come to they want to help you fill questionnaire, they see that they are helping you. Yes, they are helping you. So don't give them story. Just go straight to what you want them to do for you. Now, use a simple language. If you are dealing with those people in education, use their education language. So there's what we call a register when we're in secondary school. So you have to study the professional language. If you are in medicine, you use the language that people understand. That will be simple language that they will understand. Don't go and be using jargons. Jargon in the sense that I'm a statistician now. I want to now go to education and I'm using my terminology of statistician for them. So that is a jargons. I'm using my jargons language. So don't go and be using that. Use a language that your participants or your target audience will understand. And very simple. Don't go and be blowing grammar for them. Use it very simple. Then avoid jargons and biases. I've explained this. Now, another step is the step 4, organizing the questionnaire. Organizing the questionnaire. Now, group similar questions into section. Let's say, for instance, now, the first section is the demographic part of your questionnaire, and the demographic part contains your age, the sex, the marital status, the religion, the level of their income, and the likes. That is the section A. Sorry, let me put it as demographic part. So demographic part. So now, after collecting that one, your section B should be a question that will capture, let's say, for instance, you have 4 objectives. You have 4 objectives that you've stated. Now, after getting your demographic part, let's say, for instance, now, your demographic part have captured your objective 1. Now, this first section, let's say section 1 or section A, must capture at least one of the objectives that you have. Let's say the objective 1 has already been captured by demographic part. Then the section 1 or section A must capture your objective 2 or capture the objective 2 and 3 together. So that means that the question that you have to structure for the section A must be able to answer your objective 2 effectively without you going back to the field again. Without you going back to the field. So I mean, that means that your section 2, your section 1 or the section A must be able to capture the what your second your third objective. Then your section 3 must be able to capture your third or your fourth objective. So that means that if you are sectioning your questionnaire, the question must be grouped together. Let's say, for instance, now, after you've grouped the demographic part, the second one, you want to check the satisfaction. So all the questions there must based on the satisfaction. You group them like that in sequential order. Then the next one is you want to know the amount that, let's say, a particular customer can avoid. After structuring your questionnaire, you must group that one also in another part. So that means that your demographic part must not also surface in your other section again. You must not ask, okay, let's say, for instance, now you've asked their age, you've asked their gender, then you now go and put marital status in your section 2. No, it is wrong. So you have to group those questions that are similar together. Now, the second one is use a logical flow. Use a logical flow. That means that you are going to start from the general question. The general question is your age at last birth, your what's it called, your gender, your marital status, your religion, those things that are common, they are general. So now you are going to move from general to the specific. Don't bring your specific up. Okay, let's say, for instance, you are bringing a question on the satisfaction that they derive, and then you now go and put the demographic part at the end. No. So the general will start. You start from the general one, then you now move to the specific one that you want, that will capture the objective. Another one is include clear instruction and heading. Please for every section, please include instruction. Don't assume that they know what they want to fill. Don't assume that they will know it. No, give them instruction. So putting instruction in a questionnaire, make that questionnaire a good and well structured. So give them the instruction. If it is tick that you want them to be ticking, give them the following section, tick as appropriate. Give it like that. If it is rating, the following section, rate in the scale of this and this. If it is strongly agreed, tell them, let them know, give them the instruction. Every section must contain instruction. It is very, very important. Now, another step, which is step 5, is what we call the pretest and reverse. Pretest and reverse. Pretest is very, very important. Let's say, for instance, now maybe you have a grant that you want to carry out. Your target audience, your population size is 1,000. You can't just go into field and start a questionnaire of 1,000. There's what we call a pretest. After you've designed your questionnaire finish, you may take a 10% of your total sample. Let's say my total sample is 1,000. The 10% of my total sample will be 100. You may quickly design a 10 or a 100 questionnaire that you are going to assign randomly to your target audience. So why are we doing a pretest? Now, the pretest will help you to remove some questions that is not necessary by the time you bring them in. Pretest will also help you to check whether those questions that you have captured all your objective. That is the good part of a pretest. So immediately you come back with a pretest and you discover, after you do the small analysis, and you discover that not all your objectives are well captured, you can reverse. That is the meaning. You can reverse your pretest. That means that you are going to remove some questions, you are going to add some questions, and then there is what we call there's a particular test that we normally use to check whether a particular question that you have after you've come back from your field, to test whether it really captures your objective. It is what we call a reliability test. We are going to be checking that in this data analysis camp. A reliability test, we have a lot, but a common one is what we call the Acrobat Alpha reliability test. So I'm going to explain that better when we get to that part. So that one will tell you there is a particular standard value that you must have. Immediately you put all those pretests that you've gotten from the field, immediately you input them in your test of reliability. It will tell you how reliable are those questions that you have that can capture your objective. So if the reliability is low, that means that you have to do some adjustment. Maybe there are some questions that you ask negatively that you have to remove, or there are some questions that you have to reframe, or there are some questions that does not follow a logical order. So that reliability test will normally use it to check. So by the time you perform a reliability test, then you reverse your questionnaire. That means that you are going to remove some things, you are going to add some things. So that one, you can also test that one not on 10% again. You can test that one on a scale or on a percentage of 5%. So at the that one, you are going to test it with a 50 participants. Remember that your total population is 1,000. Your first test is 10%, which is 100. So now the one that you want to retest now is what we call that one will now be 5%. If you have the budget that covers that. So by the time you now do that, then you also perform the reliability. So by the time you now perform the then you are good to go and administer your questionnaire for the whole population that you have. So unlike you've administered your questionnaire for 1,000, you now come back, you now discover that it is not what reliable. It does not capture everything that you have. So that means that you cannot go back to it and still administer another 1,000 questionnaire. It will cost you time, it will cost you money, the resources, the manpower, and everything. So that is why the test is very, very important. Now, how to go about the pretest? Test, I've explained this, test on a small representative group, at most 10% of your total sample. Collect feedback and refine your questionnaire. I've explained this. Once you go for pretest, you bring out your pretest, then you've put your data in any of the software that you want to use, whether it is what's it called, SPSS, or you want to use data. Then after that, then you perform a little test of reliability to check how reliable those questions that you've collected, those results, those data that you've collected, to check whether your variables, your questionnaire really capture all the objectives that you've stated. Now, this is an example that I want to use for tonight. The questionnaire is designed for a hypothetical study on employee satisfaction in a workspace. That is my topic, my aim. Let me put it like that. My aim of carry out this, my particular design of questionnaire. Now, the first thing is your objective. So that's why I stated it here. The main objective is to know employee satisfaction in a workplace. That is the aim. Now, the specific objective are this one that I've listed here: assess overall job satisfaction, identify factors influencing the satisfaction, evaluate workplace environment and culture, then gauge opportunity for professional growth. So those are the objectives that I have in this sample questionnaire. So now, then the instruction. If you look at the first stage here, I have the instruction. Look at my instruction. I stated it here. We value your opinion and feedback. Please answer the following question honestly. Your response will be kept confidential and used solely for the research purpose. You need this because the participant want to be secure. They want you have to assure them that the information that they are giving you, they are not going to be seeing it anywhere except that you just want to use it for your research purposes, and after that you just discard it. So they want that assurance. So you have to assure them. Now we have a section 1, which I call a demographic part. Then in that section, I have a nominal and ordinal question. What is your age at last birthday? The reason why I put this here is that I want to get the age as numeric. But in your own case, you may decide to group your age, that from so age to so age, take this. From so age to that means that you've categorized your variable. Now, what is your gender? Is it a male or female? Well, some other country, they have other gender. So that's why I put other. Then what is your higher level of education? You can put that one. You are going to put the option from primary to, let's say, doctorate degree, primary, secondary, then post-secondary, and the like. So they will tick. Then how long have you been working in this organization? less than 1 year, they will tick. Maybe it is less than 1 year, from 1 year to 5 to 3 years, from 4 years to 6 years, and the likes. Now, my section 2, job satisfaction, Likert scale question. I want to check whether they are satisfied with the job. Look at my heading. I put instruction. Please rate the following statement based on your level of agreement. So I want them to what I want them to carry out. I'll guide them on what I want them to do. So now, I feel valued and respected in this organization. You will have put the option strongly agree, disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. Please, if you look at my own, I started from negative to positive. Don't go and put strongly disagree and then you follow by agree. No. Strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. Those are the attributes of a good questionnaire. Now, if you look at my top section, rating and ranking question, instruction again. Rate the importance of the following workplace factor to you. 1, less important. 5, most important. Salary, work-life balance, job security, career development. So now the section 4, open-ended question. Please note this. This is very, very important. For a standard and well-structured questionnaire, your open-ended question should be the last, in which you are going to ask them for their opinion. The reason being that at that point, they have to write. But if you are bringing open-ended question first, immediately they see that they have to start writing. They may lose interest in that questionnaire. But if you follow a logical process, let's say, for instance, you started with the close-ended question that they just continue ticking, they will see that it is easier for them, that they will just continue. Then followed by the rating, they are still ticking. Followed by the satisfaction, sorry. Followed by, let me quickly check. After rating, followed by the Likert scale, the ranking. So followed by the ranking. So now, after they've ticked that one, by the time you now ask them to write, they will not find it difficult. They'll just say, I'm the one, I've already done this. So what is not there for me to quickly write the other one? But if you bring open-ended question forth, they will get discouraged. Let me just put it like that. They may not want to put interest again in your questions. So open-ended question should be the last. And the example is, what do you like most about working in this organization? That one, you give them the free will. They will write and write and write. So there is another way in which we can analyze the open-ended question. They call it thematic method and the like. So now, another one is, what improvement would you suggest to enhance the employment satisfaction? People need this. You're asking them what they can contribute. Let's say at the end of the day, you ask them the question, you just ask them that what is their own, what do they think that we can do or you can do to improve maybe their health, or to improve or to serve them better, or to improve their income. They will flow with it because they want their input also. So they will flow with it. So please, if you are designing a well and a good questionnaire, your open-ended question should be the last. In conclusion, in research, understanding variable classification and design effective questionnaire are fundamental to collection, analysis, and interpreting data accuracy. So that means that in your analysis, in any research that you are performing, ability to classify your data very well, then your well-designed structured questionnaire will give you a good data. You'll be able to collect the good data. You'll be able to perform the analysis, and then you have a good result that you can generalize. So a well-designed questionnaire ensure clarity, yes. Minimize biases, yes. So that means that there will be no bias. There will not be sentimental. So you design the questionnaire generally for everybody, and then it will capture your objective, and it will help you to really actualize your objective very well. Now, throughout the integration of this principle, research across fields such as health, education, finance, technology agriculture and management can gather high quality data that supports informed decision making. So irrespective of your field that you are coming from, variable classification, well and structured design questionnaire is important for a good quality of data and the data analysis. So we're going to be having the feedback from you. So the feedback that I'm going to be expecting from you is also based on what I've taught. So to help us do more in our subsequent lectures, I will appreciate your feedback. What do you find useful in today's lecture? So you are going to tell me what you find useful in today's lecture. I'm going to send a Gmail that we're going to send it to. So this one is donwedataschool@gmail.com. You remove that 24 is not there, or you send me a DM on WhatsApp, donwedataschool@gmail.com. So then if you need any clarity, please send me a WhatsApp message, or you send your clarity to donwedataschool@gmail.com. Or you have anything in mind about the variable classification and questionnaire design that is not clear, send me a DM. So thank you so much. So at this point, we are going to welcome question. So this is going to be, we're going to arrange this by raising your hand. Oh, sorry, let's do it like this. You can type in a chat box. So we're going to be taking those questions from our Facebook Live and also from the Google Meet that we are using. So you can type your question, or if you want to ask the question, you can also raise up your hand. So I'm going to give you the audience. So and then I'm going to answer that. So this is the time for question, what you've jotted out and the likes. Okay. So please let me read our chat box if I have question there. Okay. So I'm still waiting for question. Any question, please? Okay. 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 The first question here is clarify more on aspect of equal interval for interval scale. Okay, that's a very good question. So what I mean by the equal interval is that if you are starting with a particular interval, it must be uniform, the width of that class. What did I mean by the width of that class? Let's say, for instance, now I'm starting from 0 to 4. So if you count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the width of that class is 5. So the next one is going to be what? It's going to be from 5 to 9. If you count from 5 to 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the width of that class is also 5. So that means that there must be a uniformity. There must be a what? A uniformity in your what? In your interval. So that is what I mean by they must have a equal interval. So that means that your width must be what? Must be equal. So another one is, thank you so much. The details, thank you so much for the details lecture. Please, does nominal variable always has a dichotomous variable? Yeah, the nominal variable, the one of the characteristics of the nominal variable is a dichotomous variable. So dichotomous variable is a subset of nominal variable. What did I mean by that? Once you have you can have your dichotomous variable inside nominal variable. So automatically, a dichotomous variable is a nominal variable. So because a nominal variable, we can have more than two. Let's say, for instance, in your blood group is more than two. But what distinguishes nominal variable is the without order. The nominal variable does not follow order. So if you have a dichotomous variable or a binary variable, is also a nominal. So thank you so much. Now the next one, please, sir, can we have the slide? Yes, you are going to have the slide, both the slide and the video, the recorded video. You are going to have it. You are going to have it. So, please, any other question? Any other question?
Some persons are raising their hands. Maybe you should recognize them.
Okay. Oh, sorry, ma. Let me see. I'm trying to check. Please, can you raise up your hand? Because there's no hand here.
Olatunji
Oluwasegun has raised his hand.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for the class. I guess I can just go on with my question. Hello, can we hear me?
Go on with your question. I'm with you, please.
Oh, okay, sir. Thanks for the class. I just want to ask that, is there any tool that we can use that can guide for the preparation of questionnaire, both in the aspect of the designing of the objectives and
I think your network is not allowing me to get the question for you.
Questionnaire.
Okay. To my best of my knowledge, I don't know, but to my best of my knowledge, it is the rules that you are going to follow in designing your own questionnaire. But we have different tools that you can use to collect your data. Like for instance, now we have the red cap, we have ODK, we have the Kobo collect, but you will still be the one to design what you want to get. So in designing of questionnaire, there is a rules, and those are the rules that we've treated tonight. So you must understand our rules in developing your what on your questionnaire. So to the best of my knowledge, I don't know, maybe they've developed an app or a software that can help you to design your questionnaire without you just give that app your objective, that it will design it for you, and it's going to capture everything that you need to know. So thank you. Then we have a question from our YouTube. Person is asking how to get the slide. So the slide is going to be shared to the group tonight, and then latest by tomorrow, the video is going to be available, and then the link to watch the video for those people that they were unable to join to watch the recorded video is going to be available. And then if they have any question, they can send it to our email, donoeditorschool@gmail.com, or they send it to my DM. So any other question? Okay. In the absence of none, so thank you so much for being partaker of this Dono Editor School. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. And the goal of this is that Dono Editor School. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. And the goal of this is that we want to equip people on how to manage data and how to use a statistical tools. Because outside now there are a lot of quack analysts and the misuse of statistics. So those are the things that we want to correct, and then we want to equip people on how to go about the data. The world is now global. Now there is a global village in which millions of data is being produced in seconds. So the ability to manage your data the ability to bring out useful information from the data will enhance a good precision. So please, and also for those people that just joined tonight, please try to download the software from our Google Drive and then try to follow the instruction on how to install it. So by tomorrow, the one we're going to be having tomorrow is just a 30-minute slide, then we'll move down to the practical. But you need the knowledge of the variable classification and design of questionnaire so that tomorrow now, if they are using a particular variable, you should be able to know that this particular variable is numeric, this particular variable is nominal, this particular variable is ordinal, this particular variable is dependent variable, this particular variable is outcome variable, this particular variable is static, or this particular variable is dynamic, so that it will not strange to you and you'll not be asking questions that, why are you using scale for this particular variable? You should know now that the SPSS outcome uses what? The combine both the ratio and then the interval, combine them together to form a what? A scale. Thank you so much. It is nice having you here. So my name is still Jadidayo Emmanuel. So I'm a PhD student from the Faculty of Public Health, University of Ibadan, Department of Epidemiology and Medical Statistics. So I'm into this. I teach, I do research. So that's my own hobby. So thank you so much. Then also I'm going to be having three facilitators that's going to be joining us. We're going to be having Mr. Obalulua, is the one that's going to be taking us the SPSS. I'm also part of those that will be taking SPSS. Then we have Mr. Azuka Monde is going to be teaching us the Excel. And I will be coming up on board to show you how you can use your Excel for data analysis. There is a part of Excel that is designed for data analysis. So I'm going to be coming in that part to teach you. Then we're going to be having Mr. Toby. Mr. Toby is a computer scientist and also a biostatistician. So we're going to be having Mr. Toby to be taking us data. And then I am also part of the facilitator that will also be taking data. So every of the software you will see me there. So, and then I'll be the one to be taking R. R is a programming language, and it is very, very important that you have the knowledge of R. If you are going for any conference now, international conference, they will tell you is that you have the knowledge of R or you have the knowledge of Python. If you're applying for any scholarship now, they will state it there, your knowledge of R or the knowledge of Python. Or if you are building for any grants now, they would ask you which software do you want to use to teach. They will request is that the knowledge of R or the knowledge of Python. So, and then the reason why I'm starting with R first is that R is a simple language and it is designed for statistical use, and R is free. Like now, after the whole seminar, you may decide tomorrow and develop a particular code. Just send it to the R team. They will verify that code. Once that code is right, then they will put it in their data camp. Sorry, in their database. So that particular code will bear your name. So R is very, very important and essential. So I'm going to be taking R. So I'm going to be taking the basis and the intermediate. So the advanced class, I'm going to announce that when we finish this particular section, because in 2025, we're going to be having three good sections on data analysis. So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. Have a lovely night rest. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mm.